Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle. Welcome back to the Everything in Between podcast. Thank you guys so much for the support from the last episode. Basically me attaching my face to the podcast. I was quite scared, also because it was our first episode visual as well. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't bad at all. It was actually really cute. And thank you. A grateful girl right here. But regardless, happy Women's Month to all the beautiful women out there. And I hope that we get to grow to become women of power, women who decide to do what they want and are stopped by nothing. Hopefully. Which brings me to our topic for today. Recently, well, I'm from Nigeria. Let me give that context. I don't think I mentioned that in the first episode. I'm Nigerian by origin, by country. What's the correct word? Regardless. And this March, something really significant happened in Nigeria. It had to do with a senator, Senator Natasha, who is a member of the Senate. For context, there are only four women out of 109 senators in Nigeria, and she's one of the four. And basically, her journey entering the Senate and what she has experienced so far has been something that has taught me that women actually struggle in Nigeria. Like, especially women in politics. It's so difficult to be a woman and be in politics in Nigeria. Especially coming from, I've always been interested in politics from like when I was young, and I used to like be very like much aware of what's going on in politics. I used to keep up with politics. I used to read newsletters, sorry, newspapers, and at some point, I said I wanted to be a politician, right? But for someone who's growing up and seeing this kind of thing, it's almost like, are you ready to play like a dirty game that involves politics? So for context, she was suspended from the Senate because of gross misconduct. Her misconduct, quote unquote, allegedly was that she refused to move her seat when she was asked to, because in the Senate you sit according to ranking. So like the higher parties like sit first, and basically you rank up like that. And she refused to move her seat because she wasn't aware prior that she had to move her seat, right? But before I even go into that, I would like to give you a brief history of her political journey, starting from February 2023, when she was supposedly meant to be elected. So I'm reading the journey from the Noah space on IG. They gave like a good breakdown of everything that happened to her up until her suspension. Um, February 2023, she ran for elections with someone else, and the other person was declared a winner, but she didn't believe that, and she contested it, and she won at the petition tribunal. The Court of Appeal also affirmed her victory, and she became the senator of Kogi Central. She became the first female senator of Kogi Central, and even though she won, she wasn't sworn in until much, much later. And after being sworn in, she was made chairman of the local content committee. Now, in the Senate, there are different committees for different things, and some committees have higher powers than other committees. And this was one of the committees that have like substantial power. And people were wondering why she was giving that, because it's like almost like you came in later than the rest of us, so why would you be giving that? And of course, typical Nigerian behavior, rumors started to spread, and people are asking, oh, why is she placed there? Now, in fast forward to February 2025, right? She's had like different clashes with members of the Senate, like during Senate like hearing and all of that. She's had different clashes, and her seat was reassigned, like I said before, but she didn't know, and she refused to like comply basically by just not moving and saying, "Oh, you didn't tell me that my seat was reassigned. Why should I move?" Next thing, she accuses the Senate president of sexual harassment. And a lot of like the members of the Senate are shocked. Obviously, everybody's like, what? Why would you say that? How could you say such a thing to the Senate president? This and that and that. But she did. Obviously, it was like denied, and things started to rile up against her basically. And at the end of the day, the Senate like suspended her. They suspended her for 6 months, withdrew her allowances, withdrew her security. She's not allowed to call herself a senator as well. She can't be seen within the chambers. Very, very extreme punishments, to be honest with you, because I think so. I saw it somewhere where someone like people have fought in the Senate, like physical fighting. I mean, I've watched those videos. People have fought in the Senate. People have insulted each other blatantly, but they've never been given this much punishment. So to be honest, if you ask me, I feel like this punishment is like a warning, more like a way of saying you should respect who has power here. But that's unfair. And according to the punishment, her offenses were refusing to sit in her assigned seats, speaking out without recognition, and making abusive remarks against the Senate leadership. I genuinely like her because I feel like she's someone that doesn't back down, and she's taught a lot of Nigerian women that you can speak up for yourself even if you're the only one standing. She went to the Interparliamentary Union of the UN, which is a really high body if you ask me, and she went to lay that complaint there. She has basically filed for like a lawsuit against her suspension. And do you know the crazy part of everything? The female senators, which are like the winning three in the Senate, they didn't support her. Hello? They did not support her. Some like one of them even came out to say that her suspension wasn't because of the allegations, her suspension was because of misconduct. What misconduct did she carry out? That you give her such level. Do you know what 6 months suspension from the Senate is? They withdrew her security and her allowance. People have done way worse in the Senate, but I don't think anybody has done that to them. And a lot of people like reacted because of course, the punishment was very unjust and unfair. And I think recently they had a hearing and Ezekwesili was there. The former she was Minister of Education at one point. She was there and she stood her ground supporting Senator Natasha and received so much insult from a fellow person because they were supporting her. And this entire situation happening in Women's Month is crazy. Not only is it crazy because it's Women's Month, but it's also crazy because it's happening at the highest level of power. And it basically sends a signal to other people that you know what, you can do whatever you want to women and get away with it. And that is very unfair. It sends messages to people in government offices, private offices, companies, factories, wherever you think you may work, that you can harass somebody and of course you can get away with it because you're someone in higher power. But that's unjust and that's unfair. And I don't think at this point in the history of the world, it's 2025, like this is not 2001. This is 2025. And it's happening. And you know when something happens and people try to shy away from it, this one is like they did not even give a heck. They did not care. I mean, something was said against somebody and it's the person that is punishing the person who said it. How does it relate? Sorry? Well, I feel like I hope she eventually gets justice, basically. And as much as it's a painful thing, right? It's almost like it's the mirror of what Nigeria is currently. It can show you that as much as other countries have developed, Nigeria is just not moving forward. Nigeria has not gone anywhere substantial compared to the 2000s. Another babe came up recently, the NYC babe, who talked about how difficult Nigeria was, and everybody came at her almost as if it was a thing of how dare you speak up. There's that victim mindset of like silencing the person who decides that no, I can't take this anymore. I can't continue to suffer like this. And it's almost like people in power have to be the one to silence you. They came out and they were like, oh, you can't do that. Our law says you can't speak against or involve yourself in political affairs. Fair enough. I'm not sure what the NYC law says. I've not done NYC, but I don't think anything she said was wrong because she said the truth about the condition of Nigeria. She said the absolute truth. And you can't just be somebody that's suffering and expect silence. I mean, one thing Nigerians know how to do is suffer in silence. But at some point, people start to suffer and they realize, you know what, I either speak for myself or I continue suffering. Because at the end of the day, you may even speak for yourself and still continue suffering. So as you must just as well speak for yourself. Also, that situation just goes to tell you that it doesn't matter how high you achieve as a woman in Nigeria. There must just be one man somewhere that thinks that as far as you're a woman, he has more power over you. Because I mean, Senator Natasha is a senator, and it takes a lot to be a senator. You are in charge of a certain demographic of people in your state, and it's not like you're powerless. This situation even involved her husband as well, and people were like, "Oh, why would her husband be acting this way?" Or they were saying, "Oh, her husband wasn't supporting her. Why won't her husband come out to speak?" She decided to speak. The problem is not with her husband. The problem was with her. She decided to speak up against something that was happening. And to be fair, it's not the first time that allegation is being made against that person, right? But because she chose to speak up, other people were not like, "Oh, I've never been sexually harassed by this person, so I cannot defend you." Like literally, other women in the Senate, just three of them, didn't speak up for her. They didn't fight for her. But what's crazy is that I remember, I think it was Senator Ireti. She's a senator for FCT in the Senate. I think she had a problem one time with the Senate generally, and Senator Natasha spoke for her, came through for her. She even got insulted because she was defending her. But when it came to her turn, and because obviously everybody's trying to preserve their political place, that brings us back to the Nigerian politics. You either play dirty or you go home. And I don't think that's fair because obviously now her seat is threatened because in the next election she may not come back as a senator, right? But she decided to do that regardless of whether she comes back or not. Because to her, she's there to not fill her pockets, but to fight for her people of Kogi Central. And the craziest part of everything is that I saw women come out to apologize on her behalf. I think I saw a tweet where somebody was like, when your mother leaves the house, you need to ask her where is she going to. Because those women, where did they come from? Who are they? Of course, they must have been sponsored because no right thinking woman in her right senses would come out and apologize on behalf of another woman who was exposed to sexual harassment. Does that make sense? Does that sound right? No, it doesn't. It does not exist anywhere. It's literally given the 1990s where women were fighting for the basic rights. Hello, excuse me? Excuse me? And the thing is, not only does this situation reflect in politics, it also reflects in everyday lives. It also tells you that what really can a woman do sometimes? That's basically what it's showing us. It's like, as a Nigerian woman, what's the hope? What's the hope for the average Nigerian woman? If a Nigerian woman in power can be treated so badly, what is the hope for the average Nigerian woman who doesn't have any power but is now dependent? What does it teach us as a society? Sometimes I feel like Nigeria is a simulation. When you watch something in movies and it doesn't seem real, it seems like it's just a product of fiction. That's what Nigeria feels like. It doesn't feel like a real place because there's no way somebody will say something against somebody allegedly, and that person has the authority to now punish me for saying, "Oh," it's just like telling my teacher, "Oh, I don't like the color of your pen," and the teacher decides that, "No, no, no, I don't like the way you spoke to me," and the teacher decides that you're going to punish me because I said I don't like the way you spoke to me. Does that make sense? I laid out a complaint and you have the authority to now punish me. Hello. And it honestly begs the question about the future of politics, of like women in politics. Can a woman ever be the president of Nigeria? We are so underrepresented in politics. I don't even think there's a current female governor anywhere in Nigeria. And it's almost like once you step into politics as a woman, people are looking like at you like, what are you doing here? Can't you see other your mates elsewhere? What are you doing here? I mean, there are female not vice, deputy governors in a couple states. Like, for example, Rivers, there's a female deputy governor. I can't remember another place. I don't want to be wrong. But like, women are not everywhere in politics. And because you have a few, just 4 out of 109, that's not even up to 5% of 109. And now basically there are three because one has been suspended, quote unquote, for speaking up for herself. But regardless, I would always say that as women, we should always speak up for ourselves because nobody's coming to save you, especially as a black woman. Nobody is coming to save you. We always have to speak up for ourselves, build community, lend our voices, and not be shy to, face troubles because obviously speaking up for yourself is always going to cause you troubles. That's why I like Senator Natasha. She didn't care whether anybody was supporting her. She stood her ground regardless, and she took it to the highest powers. Like, if you search up that case, you're just going to be seeing sexual harassment attached to that person's name. And that is a very bad record to have as a human being, if you ask me. But I like that she didn't back down, and she still hasn't backed down. I mean, her hearing started recently, and I do hope it's in her favor. I do hope that they rule in her favor. And I feel like she's shown Nigerian women that, you know what, you can achieve whatever you set out to do, whether it's politics, whether it's in your career. You don't have to bend to the rules or dance to the beat of whoever is in charge for you to get what you want. You have to stand your ground, believe that you are capable, and not wait for somebody to disrespect you or treat you somehow. This goes for people in marriages, in relationships, in abusive marriages, abusive friendships, if they even exist like that. Well, speak up for yourself. Speak up for the people you know that are going through things like that. It's never easy to speak up because at some point everybody's looking at you like, are you saying the truth or are you lying? And people like to do this thing where they think somebody's looking for attention because they're speaking their truth. When this like Senator Natasha's thing came to social media, I saw a lot of think pieces, and I just thought, wow, we are really backward as a society. You know, when they say you are living in this was not the 1990s, 1960. We are backward, huh? People were saying all manner of things. People were like, oh, she shouldn't have, she shouldn't. What do you mean by she shouldn't have? If they disrespected you like that, would you like it? And to be honest, a lot of you saying these things are men. So I'm not quite surprised because men have a tendency to think that this is their world and women should just live in it. But no, everybody has an equal share in this world. When God made women, He didn't say you are limited to this and that. No, He said both of you should go into the world, multiply, and bear fruit. God did not say, oh, as a man, you have higher authority than a woman. No, God never said that. So where did you guys get that from? But regardless, I do hope for the best. But I mean, this happening in Women's Month is crazy. Crazy. There's very little as like young people we can do because we can only speak up, we can only share posts on Instagram, we can only join societies that matter, we can only join NGOs that care for women, but the little you can do, please do. It's a way of contributing to a better future, ensuring that your children work in societies that give them fair share, not just equality, but also equity, in the sense that women and men may not necessarily be equal, in the sense that we are not the same person. We don't have the same characteristics physically. Science has told us a lot of different things, but we are able to have access to equal resources. That's why my problem with people who don't understand feminism, people think that feminism is just an agenda against men. But genuinely, nobody cares about men that much to fight them. No. Women just want an equal right to things that exist in society. Women want an equal right to resources. Somebody doesn't have to have a husband to be able to own a land. I can decide I want to buy land by myself. I think this thing still happens where in Nigeria, at some parts, you have to either have a guarantor or a husband, or people don't like to rent out houses to single ladies, quote unquote. That kind of thing still happens, and it shouldn't happen because if a young guy is looking for an apartment, he doesn't have to worry that, oh, the landlord may not want me because I'm single. That does not make sense. So when people fight feminism, and I've seen a lot of people come online and say feminists are this, feminists are that, but you don't know the key work that they do. They speak up for women, they fight for women. Even when this whole Senator Natasha's case came out, people were attacking feminists on Twitter and were like, oh, you guys will not speak now. I'm just like, what's going on here? Feminists do not hate men, they just want better for women. That's the honest truth. And before you think to speak against feminists, make sure that you know the definition of feminism. Just because a few women out there hate on men and call themselves feminists doesn't mean that that is what feminists do. There are proper feminists in society who do things for women, who speak for women. There are so many in Nigeria. A typical example is Chimamanda Adichie. Um, she just released a book, Dream Count, and she tells you her life journey. She tells you so many things in that book and how it's important to love yourself as a woman because nobody is coming to save you. Not your marriage, nothing is coming to save you if you don't decide that I want to love myself. I want to be able to stand up for myself in places that matter. It doesn't have to be so glamorous sometimes, or you have to stand up for yourself. You cannot fight an authority. against you if you can't stand up for yourself. You're always going to be beaten down. And sometimes you have to play according to the rhythm of whatever they're giving you, right? Sometimes you have to dance in those spaces because, oh, especially in this political space, you have to be careful because, oh, you're looking for a ticket to the next election. You want to win the next election, so you're careful. I believe that's what those three other women are doing. A part of me would understand it because I know how politics in Nigeria works. But at the same time, this is a crucial moment where someone, your fellow colleague, is saying something. The least you could do was support her. I mean, maybe they've supported her anonymously without coming to social media. That's also another thing we may not know. But the ones who have come to social media to talk her down are crazy. It does not make sense. A women group came out to say, oh, we are so sorry. Sorry for what? Exactly. Sorry for what? There's nothing to be sorry about. This is one out of 1,000 women who come out daily to speak against their oppressors or their rapists or their predators. There's so many I've seen on TikTok. They've put out their pictures. And I like the way we women are coming out of our shell to take our power, take our authority. Because really, they say when you raise a woman, you raise a community. Because women have so much power. Maybe that's why men are scared of them. But women have so much power and they can move mountains. And I do hope and pray that Senator Natasha wins this case, not just for herself, but to send a message to everyone in Nigeria, most importantly the men in power, that because you're in power does not give you the right or the authority to think that you can act anyhow. Nope. You don't have the right to do that. You don't have the power to do that. You don't have the authority to think that because I'm in power, I can act anyhow to a fellow woman who is just trying to achieve her dreams, work towards it. And if you're a man watching this, maybe you're in a place of power, don't try to sexually harass women. Do not ask for favors from them in form of sexual favors. Do not make cunty remarks because you think it's funny. No, it's not funny. It's not a joke. Women are to be respected, women are to be loved and cherished. And those are the things we deserve. We deserve way more, especially Nigerian women, we deserve so much more because there are women killing it everywhere, doing good things, breaking barriers. That's why I'm actually so happy whenever I see Nigerian women achieving something so great because it's almost like we can see that it's possible that no matter what the society or our Nigerian society, which needs a lot of revamping to be honest, shows that you can still stand out. And I'm happy Senator Natasha spoke up. I'm happy she stood her ground. I'm happy she's fighting for a cause because it's going to be a lesson for generations to come. Nobody's ever going to forget her. Nobody's ever going to forget what she did and how even the society reacted towards her. But regardless, happy Women's Month to every woman out there. Ladies, young girls, whatever age, whatever class you are, whatever stage in life you are, you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be cherished, and you deserve importantly to be respected. Always demand respect, always command respect wherever you go, and never let your predators walk free. Speak up the best you can. Speak up through the right channel, through the right authorities. When you feel like you don't have enough courage to speak up, there are NGOs you could reach out to. There are people you could reach out to in society. There are organizations you could reach out to. Hotlines you could actually call out as well to be able to get your message across and save yourself from whatever situation you are in, especially if you're in like an abusive marriage, abusive relationship. Please speak up. Your life is worth more than that. It's worth more than somebody who takes you for granted. Please speak up and remember to walk out. Walk out if you don't feel respected. Walk out if you don't feel loved and cherished. Because as a woman, you are important and nobody should tell you otherwise. That's a wrap on this episode, guys. Until next time, I remain your host. Bye. Happy Women's Month.
Hello everyone, Editing Michelle right here. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment about how you feel on the topic, and follow us on all platforms.